It's 2013 and a battle is being waged on two fronts. Warriors from distant lands are armed to the teeth with exotic firearms and are willing to fight to the death. But how can they use these tools for war?
We have to go back to ancient China, where one man's accidental discovery created the boom in all guns, gunpowder. China is the only place that this actually could have happened, due to large amounts of potassium nitrate, which is an important ingredient needed to produce gunpowder. The initial goal was to create an elixir.
It was originally used for decorative fireworks, but they later learned that they could use it for more devilish purposes.
One example was the fire lance, which is the early version of the shotgun. But the Chinese couldn't hog this powder forever. Eventually, with the help of Middle Eastern traders in the Silk Road, gunpowder began to move west, and along the way, Middle Eastern alchemists began to refine the mixture, making it even more deadly than before.
The new powder is just the Chinese powder, but revised with Middle Eastern techniques. It is no longer a useless firework. The powder had its next stake placed in the land of Europe.
Europe would revolutionize the world of firearms, turning big clunky cannons into handheld weapons that could be used to conquer the world.
As we said, the power of guns caused people to expand, but who would break that ice? That honor was given to Cristobal Colon, or most commonly known as Christopher Columbus. His journeys to the land of the West influenced the Spanish move to Mexico only 30 years later. Christopher wasn't packing much on his trip in 1492. He mainly had small guns that he could use on the natives that he encountered. But his Spanish buddies back east weren't bringing only small guns. On their trip on the way to Mexico, they were bringing large hand cannons called arquebuses. Accounts of the siege have natives referring to the gun as sticks of lightning, harnessing the power of the skies. Now we fast forward only a few decades later into the mid-1500s. The slave trade is booming because the West African rulers are trading their slaves for the guns of the European people. The Spanish and the Portuguese are at the top of the ranks, having large slave trading circuits. Portugal doing a little better than Spain, of course. You see, the Europeans didn't have to look for the Africans. No, the African rulers traded the slaves for guns that the Europeans possessed. The African rulers needed the guns to stay at the top of their military game. And to be honest, it wasn't much of a trade. The African rulers had tons of slaves. Firearm technology took a momentary pause until
Now we fast forward to the mid-1800s.
Where inventions like the revolver, a multi-shot firearm, and the Winchester rifle are invented. And it gets better. In 1914, the first machine guns are invented, making firearms shoot faster than before. Different types of guns begin to arrive, like the machine guns we talked about, pistols, and even sniper rifles used for long-distance accurate shooting. Simple guns turn into tanks and fighter jets in the times of 1939 to 1945. Recently, we have ended a war in Afghanistan that included weapons from all over the world. These guns were wielded by everybody from children to women. But even after that, we still have gun problems in America. Our nation knows the power of these guns and the destruction they can cause in the wrong hands. These realizations are a result of recent violent attacks in public places like malls, schools, and movie theaters. Between the years 2000 and 2010, 335,609 people were killed in America with a firearm. But as popular author and military veteran Aaron B. Powell states, guns are not the issue, we are. Guns are only as powerful as the imaginations who invented them. Look at how much collective learning we have seen in the history of guns. The most prominent example was in the movement of gunpowder from China to the Middle East via the Silk Road. The Chinese destructive powder was innovative, but it had its flaws that could be refined by collective learning and a few Middle Eastern alchemists. They made the crude powder more effective and useful with ideas and chemical formulas they had been using for hundreds of years. The Europeans provided such weapons like matchlocks and arquebuses to propel the Chinese-made Middle Eastern refined powder. Collective learning is in every aspect of the creation and use of guns. The materials may be from the earth, but the creation of them is all man-made.